Got it. So everybody, I want to thank you all for being here, and we've got a special guest today. I know that for most of you, when you're on these calls, we're talking about paycheck protection, loans, etc. And I just thought it would be nice for us to take a moment of our time, and because these days are so stressful, is learn some coping skills and things to keep us from being stressed. And I've got a great teacher here, Michelle Duval. I've worked with her for a couple of years now, and she is just great about helping us get in the now, breathe into it, understand that things happen and there's nothing you can do about it, and just letting it happen. So Michelle, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time with this group of people. Again, who we're talking to today is restaurant owners and people in our industry. And we've been stressed, and you can well imagine. And so we thank you for being here.
Well, I consider it an honor and a privilege to be here with you all. When I received your email, Carol, I just thought, oh, I could cry to even think about it. I thought, oh my gosh, yes, of course I have to do this with them, because you think of how much of our lives, revolves around going to restaurants and eating out, and so much of our social activity. And within literally about 48 hours, that was completely removed from not only, like the client's experience, but I can't even imagine what must be going through your hearts and minds, knowing that everything you've been working so hard to achieve and create and build for us to enjoy has just been, stopped. So just by way of introduction, I'm Michelle Duval. I'm the director of the Mindful Center. We are a business here in Albuquerque that's 100% devoted to providing these type of trainings in mindfulness and meditation, primarily under the auspices of health, healing, and stress reduction. I currently teach at the Sandia National Laboratories in one of the highest rated programs in the lab's history, Sandia National Labs. I teach at the University of New Mexico. I teach with Presbyterian Health Plan Services. I've taught courses for the Albuquerque Police Department. I currently teach with the Albuquerque Public School Systems. Basically, anyone that asks me to come out and provide these trainings, I do my darndest to be able to provide. And now I'm one of the largest providers, if not the largest provider of these type of trainings, really in the Southwest United States, if not a little bit beyond. So by way of kind of setting a framework for our relatively short amount of time together, I'm going to take you through some practices for about 45 minutes, and then we'll have some time at the end should there be any questions. So I think there's somebody moderating your questions on the chat board, and then we'll find hopefully an elegant way to deal with some of the questions toward the end of things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a series of short little teachings on a certain aspect of mindfulness practice. And then I'm going to take you through a little mindfulness practice, little meditation practice, to help you begin to feel that which I'll have just given the teaching on. So it's one thing to learn about mindfulness and to think about it and oh yeah, I really should do it. But where we're really going to experience the benefit is when we actually put it into practice, when we actually do the practices. So my hope is that by the end of our relatively short amount of time together, you might actually feel a little bit better. You might feel a little bit more relaxed. You might feel a little bit less stress. Your anxiety and your worry hopefully will come down a little bit in a relatively short amount of time that we have together. So that's the structure of today's session, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to help you experience by the end of our time together. So this first practice that I'm going to give you a short teaching on and then take you through really is at the heart of mindfulness practice. And if you're new to mindfulness or you don't know really exactly what it is, you've heard about it, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what mindfulness means in the next teaching down the road. But really, what happens to us when we get stressed out, what happens to all of us, is that stress typically doesn't feel so good in the body. I've never heard anyone say, God, I'm so stressed out and I feel amazing, right? No, that is not at all what happens. We experience stress in the body. We feel stress. So the typical hallmarks of stress are our heart starts beating faster, we get a racing heart, our blood pressure can start to go up. A lot of people start to get hot and kind of sweaty. Muscle tension starts to go all throughout the body where muscles get tense. Primarily, all of this is driven by us releasing stress hormones into the bloodstream. And the two primary ones are adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline and cortisol feel amazing when you need them. When you need to lift a burning car off a baby, you want adrenaline and cortisol running through your veins. When you are sitting at your desk in your office, adrenaline and cortisol feel awful in the body. When we have no physical outlet for the utilization of these stress hormones and they just build up in the bloodstream, that's what anxiety feels like, right? It's this kind of just tension. You want to jump out of your skin. You just feel yucky in your body. And when we're starting to experience chronic stress and our behaviors are limited, right? We're sheltering in place, so we can't even just go to the mall or go to the gym or whatever it is to relieve some of this. What's happening is these stress hormones are building up day after day after day in the body, and they start to have a cumulative effect on us. And then the typical strategy that we all employ about these feelings of stress that don't feel so good in the body is we fight against them. We don't want to be feeling anxious. We don't want to be feeling stressed. And so we resist. We go, God, this anxiety is awful, or this stress is awful. And then what starts to happen is we actually start to get stressed about our stress, right? We start to get anxious about our anxiety. We start to worry about our worry. So in mindfulness practice, we literally begin by doing the exact opposite, which is what I'm going to teach you about here and take you through a little practice of. The truth of it, my darlings, is that what you are feeling right now is an absolutely appropriate response to what's going on. Absolutely and positively. So your brain's number one job is always the same. It's to help you to survive. So how your brain helps you to survive, one of the main ways it helps us to survive is by figuring stuff out. The brain loves a certain degree of certainty. The brain loves to understand that if it rains later today, our roof is going to help keep out the rain. Our brain loves to understand that we have some degree of people around us that are going to support us when the shit hits the fan. Is that too much to say? It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We've probably heard worse today, right? When the stuff, we all say the stuff hits the fan. The brain likes to know you've got some people around you that can help support. Your brain loves to understand that you have a paycheck coming next week. The brain loves to understand that the economy will still be going strong in another couple of months. And what's happened during these crazy, crazy times is a lot of those things that the brain has relied upon to give us a sense of safety and security and this sense of being all right has literally been removed from us in a relatively short amount of time. So it makes a lot of sense that you're feeling anxious right now. It makes a lot of sense that you're feeling stressed right now. So this first practice I'm going to take you through now begins at the place of allowing yourself to feel and be feeling exactly what it is that you're feeling, understanding that this is an appropriate response to what's happening. And then this little meditation I'm going to take you through now, all I'm simply going to guide you into is seeing if you can just allow yourself to feel exactly what it is you're feeling. Allow yourself some space in your day today, right here, right now, where you are 100% allowed to show up exactly as you are. You do not need to be strong in this moment. You do not need to be not stressed in this moment. You do not need to be in any other way, shape, or form than you are in this moment. We're creating that little bit of space. So I'm going to take you through a little guided meditation now. Typically what I encourage people to do is just take a moment or so just to kind of attend to your body. So if you need to stretch out the body in any way, I like to look right, look left, kind of work out my neck a little bit, roll your shoulders. Right, so just kind of relieving some of that surface level of tension as best we can with just a little bit of movement. And then if you're comfortable doing so, you can go ahead and close your eyes, although you don't have to. Any of these practices can be done perfectly fine with our eyes just kind of a little bit open, maybe softly focused on the floor, your hands in front of you. And if you have any form of PTSD, you're going to want to do these practices, at least try them out with your eyes a little bit open. It has a calming effect on some of the imagery that can surface for us in PTSD. So as we begin to just follow the guidance as best we can, move into this little meditation, what I want you to see if you can do is just kind of allow yourself to begin to notice whatever it is that you're noticing about just sitting here, right now, in your room, in your house, wherever you are. So what are you noticing? Like, do you hear some sounds both in and beyond the room? And do you notice some sensations right now in your body? And all I'm going to be guiding you through right now is just seeing if you can kind of just allow yourself to just notice what it is you're feeling and just kind of let yourself sit here and feel it. Like maybe you're tired. Maybe you've got some heaviness, some tension in your chest. Maybe your neck and shoulders feel tight, or the muscles in your face, or maybe you've got a little bit of a headache, or maybe you feel actually pretty decent right now. Just whatever it is that you're feeling in this moment, can you create some space right now for you just to feel it, for you to be okay just exactly as you are? Even if you don't feel like $1,000,000 in this moment, is it okay? Can it be okay in this moment to not feel like $1,000,000? Everything that you're feeling right now is appropriate. Everything is legitimate. You've been through a lot. Just creating this space in our day right now, just where it's okay for us to be showing up exactly as we are. And just breathing. Just sitting here and breathing. Just about one more minute. You're doing great, whether you think so or not. What a gift to be giving yourself right now. Just this space where you can just show up as you are, whatever needs feeling, whatever needs noticing right now in your body. And just sitting here and breathing. And now as the meditation ends, there's not even a rush to open your eyes if you've closed them. I want you to again just take a few moments just to kind of stretch and move the body again. If that meditation made you tired, good. Means it helped you to relax a little bit. So just kind of moving a little bit in a way that re-energizes you, kind of wakes you up. And just opening your eyes when you're ready. So that's the first practice I wanted to take you through. And I encourage you, beyond the scope of this webinar, to understand that you can take yourself through that little practice anytime and anywhere. You don't necessarily need someone to guide you through it. And you could do it for 30 seconds, for 1 minute, anytime when you notice yourself kind of getting stressed about your stress, getting anxious about your anxiety, getting worried about your feelings of worry. You can move into that simple practice of just, wait, can I just be exactly as I am, feel what I need to feel in this moment, let my guard down a little bit. And then what happens for most people in a relatively short amount of time is when you're no longer fighting your what is, your present moment experience of being in your body, you start to relax a little bit. Okay? Sometimes it's just a little bit, but during these times we'll take even a little bit. Okay? So the next practice I'm going to take you through, the next little teaching, has to do with just straight up what mindfulness is. And I taught these practices a couple of weeks ago to about 1,000 people I had on the webinar. And this was commented on that this was one of the most helpful and easy to do practices outside of the webinar itself. So if you're distracted and doing a bunch of other things during this call, it might be a good opportunity just to plug back in, because I literally heard back from hundreds of people that this was a really helpful little practice. So first, in my teaching part of this, I'm going to just teach real briefly on what exactly is mindfulness. Mindfulness is everywhere all of a sudden, and if you Google it, you get a big old paragraph. But the truth of it is that paragraph can and probably should be correctly distilled down into 2 basic words. Then it makes it a little bit easier to wrap your mind around what is mindfulness. So the 2 words that big old paragraph can be distilled down into, mindfulness is simply intentional awareness. Intentional awareness. That's what mindfulness is. It's intentional awareness. So if I were to ask you to, in this moment, say, feel your feet, right? Not with your hands, but with your mind, right? Can you move your mind down into your feet, just kind of resting on the floor there? Right, so feeling your feet. So that could be, if you just did that, which I hope you did, that could be considered a form of mindfulness, meaning you went and got your mind from wherever it was, whatever it was doing, and you moved it. You chose to become intentionally aware or intentionally present, same thing. Intentional presence is the same thing as intentional awareness of the sensations in your feet. And then what happened is then the sensations of your feet appeared to your mind. They're cold, they're hot, they're sweaty, they're tingly, or you can just feel the pressure of your shoes against the skin or the feet on the floor. Intentional awareness, that's mindfulness. So now the interesting thing is that awareness is actually different from thought. Awareness is different from thought. So notice I didn't tell you to think about your feet. Right? I asked you to feel your feet, to become intentionally present or aware of the present moment experience of your feet. So if I were to think about my feet, what comes to my mind is I can start to see like a visual image of my feet. I haven't been to the pedicurist in a couple weeks, right? So they're looking a little haggard probably down there. So I get a visual image when I think about my feet, or I think about my plantar fasciitis, or I think about a new pair of shoes I bought, whatever it is. There's a difference between thought and experience, a difference between thought and awareness. So mindfulness isn't sitting down and thinking about stuff. It's actually sitting down and practicing just being in the present, intentionally present, which is the same thing as intentionally aware. The only time you can be aware of your feet is in the present. And I said, I want you to feel your feet 5 minutes ago, you can't do it. And if I were to say, I want you to feel your feet 5 minutes from now, you can't do that either. So the only time you can ever be aware of anything is in the present moment, right? So last little teaching point before I move you into the next little practice is that most of your stress right now is coming from your thoughts of either the past and or the future. That's where most of your stress is coming from right now. Either your thoughts of the past, what the governor just said, what happened a couple of days ago, whatever it is, what happened in China 3 months ago, right? Thoughts of what has been happening in the past. And then especially in this uncertain time, what's going to happen in the future? What's going to happen to your restaurant? What's going to happen to your business? What's going to happen to your finances? What's going to happen to your family? What's it going to look like in 3 months and 6 months down the road? Are people going to still be able to afford to go to restaurants, etc.? Sorry, I hope I didn't stress you out by adding to your load. But am I right? This is where most of the stress is coming from, either thoughts of the past or especially probably thoughts of the future. So the truth of it is that in this moment, you're just sitting there listening to me, looking at me. So in this moment, there's relatively a low level of stress. I'm sitting in a relatively climate controlled room. I've got some sunlight happening. I've got some electricity, making things happen that I need to have happen. In this present moment, each and every one of us are actually okay in this present moment. But when the mind gets endlessly lost in the rehashing of the past and or the rehearsing for the future, rehashing the past or rehearsing for the future, that's when we start to spiral and spin out of control with our stress. So this next practice that I'm going to teach you how to do is really just straight up mindfulness. It's a beautiful, simple little practice that we can use anytime and anywhere to kind of bring us back into this present moment experience, which you will be shocked at how in a relatively short amount of time of doing this next practice, you can start to feel your stress levels come down. Why? Because basically we're moving our minds out of those stressful thoughts of the past and out of the stressful thoughts of the future and into this present moment experience within which we're actually okay. This is an important thing to do for your brain. Okay, let's give it a try and see what happens for you. This practice is called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 practice. And what it is, and I'm going to guide you through it again just as I did before, is we're going to practice first becoming intentionally aware, intentionally present, mindful of 5 things that we see. So in this practice, we're going to start it with our eyes open. And I don't mean we just go, okay, glasses, pen, computer, keyboard, desk. We just kind of flip through the 5 things. I'm going to guide you in first moving your mind into awareness, and then just kind of slowly and gently noticing 5 different things you could see. It could be colors. I see a pink Post-it note. I see a square, right? So 5 things we see. And then I'm going to shift us into 4 things that we can hear. 4 things that we hear. And even if you're in a relatively quiet environment, there's my voice yapping away, right? So that could be one thing. But even if you're in a relatively quiet environment, if you pay close enough attention, you're going to be able to hear like maybe the house settle around you or the heat or the air conditioning turn on. I know I can hear sometimes some of the traffic outside. Or maybe you can just hear silence. So in that part of things, we're going to shift or toggle our awareness from visual experience into sound. We're going to just go slow and note 4 things that we can hear. And then I'm going to shift you into noticing 3 things that you can feel. 3 things that you feel. So even as I'm talking you through it, I bet some of you are actually doing it right now and you're moving your mind into the present and you're noticing maybe a couple things that you're feeling. You're feeling tension. You might notice the touch of the fabric of your shirt or your clothing against your skin. You could feel the pressure of the seat against your bum, your backside. It could also be things that you're just kind of sensing or noticing in the body. It could be, your hand coming into contact with your desk. We're going to take you through noticing 3 things that you feel. And then for the 2 and the 1, it's going to be 2 things that you smell. And you might think, I don't think I smell anything. So you pay close enough attention. You might just notice something fresh smelling, or something sweet smelling, or something sour smelling. If you really can't notice anything, you can use a prop. You can smell your pen, right? That just smelled metallic to me. So if you really can't notice anything when we get that part, you can use props around you and just smell a piece of paper. But remember, it's not about actually smelling something. It's so much as about moving our mind into the present, out of our thoughts of the past and the future. And then the 1 is something you can taste. Something you can taste. So I have a slightly sour taste in my mouth. I got to go brush it again after this webinar. Or maybe you just ate something so you can still taste the salt of the croutons or whatever it is. And if you have a mint on your desk, you could also use a prop. Just one thing that we're tasting is what I'm going to take you through. Okay? So let's give it a try. You can't know if it'll help you if you don't give it a try. You can't win if you don't play. Okay? So once again, just taking some moments here to just kind of stretch out your body. I always recommend people do this at the beginning of any type of meditation they do. Feels good in the body, and what you're actually in essence doing is you're connecting something that feels good to you with a meditation practice, and then your brain will start to associate meditation with something that feels good for you, and we want that, right? Okay, so just kind of finding a comfortable way of sitting in your chair once you've done your little stretching. And now just beginning this meditation with your eyes open. And all I want you to do is see if you can just move your awareness into the visual experience, just sitting in your room right now, wherever you are. So just first, just kind of hanging out, just kind of loitering in this experience of just kind of looking around you and just noticing visual experience, objects and colors and shapes. And now what I want you to do, just nice and slowly, take your time. I just want you to note silently to yourself just 5 things that you notice in your visual experience. Okay, now what I want to encourage you to do is just kind of play with this. I want you to see if you can toggle your awareness from visual experience now into sound. Isn't that cool how you can do that? You just shifted from really paying attention to visuals now into sound, hearing. And just for these first few moments, I just want you to just kind of hang out in this space of hearing. Listening, hearing. Now I want you to see if you can note to yourself just kind of 4 things that you hear. One of them can absolutely be the sound of my voice. Four things that you hear. Listen closely. Okay, now I want you to see if you can toggle your awareness, just shift your awareness now into your body. Right, so putting your awareness on your body right now and just first just be, excuse me, just being in your body. similar to what we did in that first meditation. You're welcome to close your eyes if it's helpful now. And I want you just to begin to note 3 things, nice and slowly, just 3 things that you're feeling or sensing. And it doesn't just have to be emotion. It could be the feeling of the weight of your body supported by your chair, whatever. Just holding your awareness on this sense of feeling. And now I want you just to toggle your awareness, shift your awareness to smell. Can you smell anything? And probably what you're noticing right now is just the feeling inside your nose, right? Of the coolness of the breath. It's your present moment experience of your breath right now, right? And then you're trying to detect any type of scent that you can. I burnt some Brussels sprouts in my house a couple days ago. I think I can still smell them. Or if you need to pick up a prop, but just seeing if you can notice 2 things that you smell right now. Now I want you to again toggle your awareness to your mouth. What do you taste in your mouth right now? We're just going to first just hang out in the sensory experience of taste. And then just noting one kind of taste sensation that you're noticing right now. Okay. If you've closed your eyes, you can go ahead and open them. Maybe even stretching your body a little bit again, just as we do at the end of a practice. That's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 practice. 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you feel, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste. And if you screw up the order a little bit, don't worry about it. The purpose and the function of that type of meditation is just to begin to move our minds into the present moment. For most people, that will start to have a quieting effect on your central nervous system. What you are literally doing in that type of meditation is you're using your mind to show your brain that you are actually okay in this moment. Or in other words, you are using your mind to show your brain that you are not about to get eaten by a tiger. And then what your brain does is goes, oh, okay, look, okay, I'm noticing the plant, I'm noticing the light, the keyboard. That's what you're showing your brain. So you're literally showing your brain that you're not in imminent danger. Now, when we go off into thoughts of the future, thoughts of the past, that's what we're showing our brain, right? If you're a worrier, you have a powerful imagination. Worry is using imagination for negative effect, right? So you're literally worrying, you're showing your brain negative imagery about things that can happen to your restaurant, what's going to happen to your bank account, what's going to happen to your family, and it's triggering your stress response. The brain's going, holy crap, oh my God, this is what, and that's what's triggering your stress response. In the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 practice, you're going, look, brain, look, no tigers. There's just a light there. There's the smell of burnt Brussels sprouts there. There's the feeling of the weight of my body in your chair. And for most of us, it has a quieting effect on the central nervous system. Beautiful practice. And don't have to do it in 10 minutes to do it. You could take yourself through it in about 30 seconds. It's just a way of kind of recentering and regrouping. Okay? One more practice to share with you, and then we'll open the floor up if there's any questions or comments or anything that I can be of service to. 4, It's the right preposition. Anywho, you know what I mean. This next practice is a good one, and it can be especially relevant as it relates to sleep issues. So I know for a lot of people, and what I'm hearing back from a lot of my students is that they're having trouble with sleep. And there's a reason that you're having trouble with sleep if you are. And if you're not, you're still going to be able to relate to this phenomenon, because this happens, what I'm about to describe now, it happens to every single one of us. So anytime that you are not engaged in a task, your brain will slip into what we call the default mode of brain function, the default mode. Anytime you're not engaged in a task, you will begin to default. What defaulting is your brain's super strong tendency to flip through the Rolodex of either past experiences or potential future experiences with one goal in mind. And that goal is to find and locate and focus in on all of your problems. Remember at the beginning of this webinar together, I told you that your brain's number one job is to help you to survive. Well, this is what's at play with the default mode. If your brain can help you to focus on all of your problems all the time, whenever you're not engaged in a task, like when you're not watching a movie, or when you're not answering the emails, or when you're not giving a presentation, or when you're not in conversation, anytime you're not engaged in a task, your mental focus, your mental engagement softens, you're going to start defaulting. So like sitting in your car at a red light, right? You're defaulting. For me, it's always I'm cooking, I'm stirring the pasta. I'll start to think about stuff, and it's typically not the fact that everything is going great in my life. Typically, we forget about all that stuff, and we start to find and focus in on all of our problems. And if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you can't go back to sleep, I can pretty much guarantee you that you are slipping into default mode. When you're lying awake at night and you can't get back to sleep, it's never that we're sitting there thinking about how well our plumbing has been working at our house lately. We're not thinking about the fact that our car just keeps starting up on the very first try. No, what our brain wants us to do is focus in on all the problems so that we could potentially be working to solve those problems, because that activity will potentially increase our ability to survive, right? That's what the brain's number one job is always to do. So 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going to start defaulting because you're not doing anything. And this is why if you start to read a book or you watch a movie on Netflix, whatever it is, it can have a calming effect on this default mode of brain function. That's why a lot of times people tend to fall asleep while watching shows. The problem is that you can't always be watching a show. You shouldn't always be watching a show. But what starts to happen is we start to get addicted to needing some form of distraction all the time to get ourselves out of these default modes of brain function. But this is where mindfulness can also be of tremendous, tremendous value. So this next meditation is really just a simple breathing meditation, but I'm going to teach you how to do it from the vantage point of mental engagement. So if we tend to slip into these default modes of brain function anytime we're not mentally engaged with something, it would make sense that the way to take ourselves intentionally out of these default modes of brain function would be to increase or enliven a certain degree of mental focus, right? To engage our minds. So what I'm going to take you through now is a practice of a breathing meditation, with the invitation being to see if you can actually move yourself out of that default mode by simply engaging your mind in the present moment experience or feeling of your breath. Right? So even right now, if you feel your breath, you become intentionally aware and mindful of your breath. In essence, what you're doing is you're engaging your mind in the present moment experience of your breath. And then what's going to happen to all of us in even a short breathing meditation is at some point, your mental focus, your mental engagement will begin to soften, and you'll again start defaulting. You'll again start thinking about the past, rehashing the past, or rehearsing for the future, focusing on all of your problems. So what I want you to do when that default mode kicks in again, I want you just to see in this meditation, I'm going to guide you through it here in just a moment. I want you to see if you can intentionally choose to re-engage your mind in the feeling of your breath. And you might have to do it multiple times. You probably will. But then what starts to develop with some degree of consistent practice with a meditation like this is you start to develop a little bit of skill with first noticing that you've slipped into default mode, and then B, developing the skill to more effectively move yourself out of default mode when you decide it's not actually bringing you benefit, AKA at 3 o'clock in the morning, and now it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you're still defaulting the crap out of your day, right? Okay. I will say that this little practice takes some practice to get good at, especially if you want to apply it in the middle of the night. So what I typically encourage people to do is do it a couple of times at least throughout the course of the day, where you do like a 5 breath long breathing meditation. You really try to mentally engage your mind in the feeling of the breath. And so you start to develop skill with it during your day-to-day life. And then you can begin to apply that skill to that little bit more challenging time, which is typically in the middle of the night. Why it's more challenging is this is what you've always done in the middle of the night, is default. So you have the habit of doing that, and it's going to be a little bit harder to take yourself out of it. But once you develop some skill with this practice, it absolutely can be hugely effective. Okay, so let's give it a try. So once again, this will be our last little practice together, and then I'll open the floor up. We'll open the floor up for some questions. If you want to just stretch and move the body, whatever again feels good. Don't skimp on this part. You've been through a lot. Your body's been through a lot. It's hard to sit at your desk and worry about stuff all day long. It's exhausting. It's draining. It hurts your body. Just taking some moments to kind of just move that tension through it, at least a little bit, right? And if you're comfortable doing so, you can go ahead and close your eyes. And all I want you to do for this first piece of things is I just want you to sit here. And I want you just to see if you can notice where your thoughts go. And the longer we sit here, what's going to at some point begin to happen is we're going to begin to default. Might not have happened yet. If we sat here for a couple more minutes in silence, you would begin to default. Absolutely. You'd start to worry about stuff or plan for stuff or just rehash the past, rehearse for the future. So now what I want you to begin to try to do is simply engage your mind on the present moment experience of the sensations of your in-breath and the sensations of your out-breath. I want you just to see, and we're just going to do this for a couple of minutes, pretty short meditation. I just want you to see if you can focus your awareness on just the feeling of in-breath, the feeling of out-breath. And anytime you start to notice that you're just veering off, you're starting to go back to your thoughts of the past or thoughts of the future, you start defaulting a little bit. I just want you to see if you can just re-up your mental engagement on the feeling of your breath. In essence, we're practicing just giving our mind just this one thing to do, just for now. Usually we're giving it 40 billion things to do. Just for now, we're practicing giving our mind just this one thing to do. Feel the sensations of in-breath. Feel the sensations of out-breath. Re-engaging your mind with the new breath when you start to veer off. Just about 30 more seconds. Stabilizing your mind a little bit on this present moment experience of just the rising and the falling of the breath through your body as you just sit here and breathe. Beautiful. So as we come to the end of that practice, again, just a moment or two just to kind of re-energize, revitalize the body with a little bit of movement, a little bit of stretching. And just opening your eyes when you're ready. So last little note about that particular practice, you can do a 5 breath long breathing meditation. You could do what I typically encourage people where to start with that particular meditation is commit to yourself that you're going to take about 5 mindful breaths 5 different times throughout the day. That's just doing about a breathing meditation that just lasts for about 5 cycles of breath. The hardest part about doing that particular practice isn't doing it, it's remembering to do it, right? As we just get swept away by all the stress and the mindlessness of our days. So I typically recommend that people try to couple that little practice of taking, engaging your mind in about 5 cycles of breath, to couple that with something that you already do every day. For example, every time you get up in the morning, that's what I do. I sit on the edge of my bed and I feel my in-breath, I feel my out-breath. And sometimes, I've got twin 7-year-olds, they're home right now doing God knows what. It's awfully quiet out there, right? That's sometimes worse than the noise. Sometimes they're going, mommy, 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 the whole time I'm feeling my breath. I don't care. I just sit there, I look at them, and I feel my breath, because I know I'm a better parent when I can actually just stabilize for a moment or so before. And now they're starting to recognize, oh, she's feeling her breath, let her have a moment. I'm usually cooler to deal with when I've taken my breaths. And then maybe every time you get in your car, you could do the same thing, about 5 cycles of breath. Or maybe you're not driving so much around anymore. Maybe it's before you sit down to your lunch, right? 5 mindful breaths. And then maybe after you put the dishes in the sink, 5 mindful breaths. Right after you brush your teeth or before you brush your teeth at night, 5 mindful breaths. And then again, as you sit on the edge of your bed, getting ready to go to bed, 5 mindful breaths. And then what I usually do is I turn on the lights and I just try to stay following the breath as I go off to sleep. And then if at any time during the night I wake up, I just do the same thing. I try to engage my mind in the feeling of the breath as a way of calming that sense of endless defaulting, of rehashing the past, rehearsing for the future, with that goal of finding and focusing on all our problems all the time, endless stress in the world of defaulting. Okay, so I hope those practices, those little teachings brought you benefit. I see that you're back here with us, Carol. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer, do what I can.
I was here the whole time. I just want you to know, interestingly, just didn't want people to see me meditate. Isn't that interesting? It's a little embarrassing. So I don't know if we have any questions. We've got some folks working our Facebook questions, and I don't know if there are any there, but You know, one thing I want to do is just show people that, and I don't know quite where to do this, but I'm going to share the screen and show them your website. So I think I'm on the screen. Share, there we go. You know, Michelle, you did not come here to sell anything, and I know that, but I just want people to know that you are out there and available for them. I was telling Michelle earlier that my husband and I have done her, what was it, the meditation?
Calm and strong.
Calm and strong. So meditation and exercise. And so you can take programs and tell us more about, I know you teach locally, but you also have some online programs, correct?
Oh yeah, I've got a whole, if you go on my website, which is themindfulcenter.com, and you go up under take a class, which is in the top navigation bar, you can choose online programs. And I have some, I've really tried to make that even more robust during this time. So I'm offering every other Saturday a live webinar with me. I've got one this Saturday, and that's the one last 2 Saturdays ago, whatever, I had 1,000 people on that last webinar that I hosted. So it's just about, it's kind of similar to what we did. It lasts about an hour, just short little teachings with some practices. Those Saturday webinars come with 5 different downloadable guided meditations that you can have, as well as a little ebook that helps you kind of figure out how to set up a practice. I've got a lot of pre-recorded online programs as well, some dealing with anxiety, some dealing specifically with sleep. Those are like 4-week or 3-week programs. And I've cut all of my pricing down by like 80% of all my online stuff, just to make it really accessible and really doable. So it's not like I'm asking you to spend a ton of money right now when our finances are definitely something that we have to take a look at. So I have a lot of things going on. I have a monthly subscription thing where you get to take 2 webinars with me every month, plus get those downloadable guided meditations and some other content. So my goal during this time is to become as accessible as I possibly can and look for ways to keep costs really, really low and benefits as it relates to stress reduction really, really high. I am of service to my community right now, and I want to be of service, and I can help people. I've been teaching now for 18 years, so I know we can use these practices to help bring down our stress, and it's really critical. We cannot lose our minds during this time. Or for a lot of us, especially restaurant owners, I would imagine as well, a tough part is still yet to come. So if we're kind of freaking out and struggling right now, I know once things start to get opened up, are the people going to keep coming? There's so much still yet to be done. So to start reducing and kind of controlling our stress with these practices now would be my strongest encouragement, and however I can do to facilitate and support that, I want to do.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and I know everybody else does. It is important to not do the rehearsing and regurgitating all of that stuff. And I've got to say, I've been up at 3 o'clock every morning, and it seems like 3 o'clock is the time. And then I go into worry mode. And so I'm definitely going to start doing this and trying it for that time. You know, I got to get sleep.
Can I share something? Yeah. Can I share something? So what I recommend a lot of times for people in the middle of the night is to get some downloadable guided meditations. You can get them for free. Again, I've got 5 different ones for free right on my website. You can also use a great app called Insight Timer, which the main bulk of Insight Timer is free, actually. So they have over like 1,000 different free guided meditations that you can access right off your phone. It's the icon is a little gold bowl. I'm on Insight Timer. I'm one of the top teachers. It's an international app, so there's teachers from all over the world on there, and you can be listening to some of my guided meditations right on your phone. And I've got one on that Insight Timer called the Middle of the Night Meditation, which is specifically designed to calm your brain in the middle of the night. So sometimes it's hard to go it alone in the middle of the night. And when you just can have a guided meditation ready to go, you just press play, get a little earbud. I even recommend you don't need both of them all the time, just putting one earbud in. And then you start to mentally engage in the sound of the voice and what it's guiding you into doing. And right there, that can be a really effective way to take yourself out of default mode and not feel like you have to do it again. It's my website. We've had a lot of traffic.
I was going to say it's having a hard time.
I know it's up right there. There we are. I know it's up still, but I don't know. Your bandwidth, you're using some of your bandwidth right now to host this Zoom. So
yeah, and the front page is on. I just can't get the take a cut. So
yeah, you can see it there, and I'll double check, but I'm sure it's fine. I've been in contact with my web guy lately, but yeah, there's bandwidth. There's like 1 trillion people on the internet right now, right?
There are. Well, I just want to thank you so much. You know, I know from my experience with you that your teachings have helped me stay calm in the face of everything we're dealing with right now. And I just wanted everybody else to have that benefit. So thank you for being here. And thank you all for attending. Really appreciate it. We'll be back on Friday with the Environment Department. Not quite as fun as this, but stuff you need to know from the New Mexico Environment Department. Thanks, Michelle.
All right. Thank you. Good luck to
Bye-bye.
everybody. We'll be praying for you. Okay.
Thanks.
Take care.